So there it is. That is everything I brought home from my local comic book store this week. And would you believe it? There's only one thing here that was actually on my pull list. So which is it? Out of all of these books, which one was the one I wanted badly enough that I actually committed to buy it 2.5 months ago? Stick around and find out. Hey there, Bobby! Welcome to Shanghai. My name is Duke, and this is the Weekly Haul. It's a rundown of what I came home from my local comic book store with this past week on New Comic Book Day, September 16th, 2020. Now, this isn't really a list of reviews. For the most part, I haven't had a chance yet to read these books, so it's just a rundown of what I bought and why I bought it. And my hope is that will foster some dialogue with you, my fellow comic book fans. Please do leave a comment below. Let me know what you bought this week. And I'm particularly interested in hearing from you if you're getting things different than what I'm buying. You know, if you've got a book that you just absolutely love and you don't see it here, well, by all means, please let me know. Tell me below why you like that book so much and why you think I should be buying it as well. I would be happy to try that book just based on your recommendation alone. And who knows, maybe it made a sale, maybe it turned somebody on and created a new fan for your favorite book. And then the other reason I do these videos is that I'm hopeful as this channel grows, maybe, different pros, publishers, editors, writers, artists will happen by, and they'll get an idea of why one fan makes his purchasing decisions. And I think that's useful, can be useful, even if I'm wrong, right? Even if I say something stupid. The odds of that are pretty darn good. But even if I say something that's just completely off base, hey, I've been actively collecting comic books for nearly 50 years. So the odds are, if I'm thinking something about a new book, other people out there may be thinking the same thing as well, right? So it's an opportunity for them to sort of adjust what they're publishing, or at least how they're marketing it, to try and, again, make those sales. So let's get into it. Please like, share, subscribe, do all of those things if you like this video, or even, you know what, if you don't like this video, because as I said, it's a new channel. So even if you want to give me a thumbs down, I invite you to do that because, hey, any interaction is going to help hip the algorithm to my existence and help this channel grow. So, hey, let's get into it. Full retail value of one I got here. What did I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... just 6 new books, and it came to $31.94. Now, full disclosure, where I get my books, I work for the company that owns that store, so I do get an employee discount. That store is Dotcom Comics and Collectibles in Freeport, Maine. So I did pay a little less than $31.94, but if you had bought those books, not counting any discount you get or sales tax, that's what it comes to. So, again, 6 books when I first started collecting comic books in the mid-70s would have been, what, $1.50? Now it's $31.94. So anyway, the first thing I got here is Batman, 97 and 98. And you may ask, why did you do that? This is not something that's on my pull list. And I've just been buying it for a couple of reasons. One, there have been so few things to buy lately as the industry kind of lumbers back to life from the whole COVID-19 pandemic. And I don't know what things are like at your store, but at my store, Diamond Comics Distribution, and for DC Comics, UCS Distribution, they have been so bad. We've been missing so many things. We get shorted. Stuff comes in damaged and has to go back. There hasn't been a lot to buy. But Batman's a book that's been coming out consistently. And because so many people are talking about it online, I've been like, well, hey, you know what? If you can't buy what you want, buy what you got. So, I've been trying it out. But somehow, in grabbing the books off the stands, I missed 97. And you will hear me in these videos complain a lot about decompressed storytelling and the way comic books are produced these days. And here's a little example of that in action. I got 98, read it, and didn't even realize at first that I had missed an issue. So that's how little actually happens in any one issue, how slowly the plots move. Uh, so, I don't know. A lot of people are really loving James Tynion IV and what he's doing on this book. I got to say, I really don't see it. I mean, I don't hate him. I don't want him to get hit by a train or anything, but the book just, again, it's that decompressed storytelling. There's no beginning, there's no end, there's just kind of stuff in the middle, and nothing really happens in any one issue. And each issue reads in about 10 or 12 minutes. I mean, like there you got a double page spread, which is kind of interesting. You might linger over that for a minute or two, but it's not going to take you very long to read. And yeah, there's more going on here as far as dialogue, but not a lot of plot action. That's just 2 pages of fight. Nothing really happens here. That's super decompressed. So for $4 for something that reads in about 10 or 12 minutes, that's not really a great entertainment value. And as I said, not a lot actually happens such that you can actually read an entire issue and not realize that you even missed an issue. So I'll show you a little bit of the inside of this one as well. What the heck? Yeah, so I don't know. Now, here's the thing. As I say all of that, and it's a nice looking book. I mean, that's decompressed. That's an entire page where plot-wise, nothing really happens. But it's a nice page to look at. And a little of this goes a long way. But when it's 20 pages of that, again, like this. Here's a double page spread. Not a lot really happens. It's not going to take you long to read that. It looks great, but I don't know. Again, there's another page. Nothing's happening. That's not a page you're going to linger over for very long. I wouldn't think. So, and again, so you get 2 of them. 1, 2. How long does it take you to look at those 2 pages? For $4. You gotta give me something to chew on. You gotta give me a little bit of meat with my salt and pepper. So, well, that's you probably disagree with me, and that's okay. And as much as I've just complained to you, I do have to admit I have added Batman to my pull list. So starting with issue 100. This will be arriving in my file. I won't just be grabbing it off the stands, if an issue is left. And luckily, I haven't had any trouble there at my local store. It gets enough of Batman anyway. So if I'm complaining so much, why did I put this on my pull list? Well, 2 reasons. And again, this might be useful to the pros out there who are wondering why one particular fan does or doesn't buy certain things. Because so many people are talking about Batman right now online. I kind of want to be part of that conversation. I want to know what it is they're talking about. So I'm grabbing the book, even though I'm kind of holding my nose a little bit while I do it. And the other thing is that Tynion he's introducing new characters fast and furious. Now, I've got to admit, not all of them are making an impression with me. I can't remember the names of most of them as I sit here. I mean, there's Punchline, of course, but one of them is it Clown Killer? I don't think that's right. Demolition Man? I know that's not right. The guy with the D on his face? And then there's one coming up in number 102. I've seen the solicitations. Is it Ghost Whisperer? I know he had a cool costume, but I can't remember what his name actually is. So sounds like a dumb reason to buy a book. But the thing is it's kind of fun knowing that all these new characters are coming along, and there's likely going to be more, because if you believe what you hear online, Warner Brothers is really happy with what Tynion's doing, and AT&T is really happy, and so They are excited to be able to exploit this IP. They call characters IP, intellectual property. They're excited to exploit it in other media. We're probably going to see these new characters in other places soon. And so, again, it's kind of fun just to be in on the ground floor, right? Uh, so I'm not loving the books, but I am buying it, and I have added it to my pull list. All right, Bitterroot. This actually is something on my pull list, but this particular issue, number 10, came out 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe more. This is an example of Diamond just kind of failing. They shorted us, and we had to get on the horn and be like, hey, need that book. Now, when we say need that book, we needed this one book. As far as I know, the only copy my local store gets is the one that I pre-order. This isn't something that shows up on the stands. I really enjoyed this book when it first came out. It's all about a family of monster hunters in the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s. And at the beginning, it was cool. It was a chance to learn about a history and a culture that I did not know much about. Honestly, though, this book is now kind of hanging on by a thread with me because it is, as it has gone on, how can I put this without people accusing me of being an alt-right troll? Well, there's a couple of things. One is that the book is focusing more on the supernatural. So you've got old family members coming back from the dead, which isn't quite as exciting as the initial issues were, where you had the monsters, but it was more about the atmosphere of Harlem in the 1920s and this family of monster hunters. Now you've got all these kind of supernatural elements that are kind of just like everything else, that you might read anywhere. And you've got one part of the family that has gone down south to fight these monsters, and you're getting into that thing where every white person who appears is either a total simp or a raging racist, and it's just getting kind of two-dimensional. And then you've got the female member of the family who was admittedly already kind of a Mary Sue, is just getting to super Ray proportions. it's getting a little hard to read. So, like I said, this book is kind of hanging on for me. How this issue goes may determine whether or not it stays on my pull list. Oh, and then the other thing I'll mention too, and again, this is going to get people accusing me of being an alt-right troll. It's been kind of neat in that in the back of the issue there have been these essays by different usually scholars. Like this guy's a PhD, right? And it's been a lot of stuff. Again, just like the story was originally about Harlem, the Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s and the black experience. It was a chance to learn things I didn't know. But in the post Black Lives Matter period, they've been sneaking in more of the all white people bad stuff. And interestingly, that is coming more from the white academics. I mean, the black ones just tend to talk about, black culture and black arts, and the black experience, whereas the white people are again apologizing for being white, amputating whiteness. So this is all going to be. This guy's going to tell me, I'm sure, all about how white people are all inherently racist. Well, you know what? You could stick that right up your ass. So the book, in addition to being less interesting as it's going on, it's also getting more annoying. So people are going to start calling me Comicsgate and calling me an alt-right troll, and I'm sorry, but that's just my opinion. This was an impulse buy as well. And normally I would not have done this. I did not get Detective Comics number 1000. But with there being relatively little, and as I noted in the teaser, just one thing actually from my pull list, not counting Bitterroot, which was kind of a back order, but one new thing for my pull list coming out this week. I wanted to get some other stuff, and I got this largely because normally, DC puts out these 80-page books for $9.99, and I'm not paying $10 for an 80-page book. No way in hell. When I first started collecting, and I get that, yes, inflation, and yes, there are other things that make the price of producing a comic book, the cost, more than it, would be even added to inflation. I get that comics aren't going to cost the same, but by the same token, an 80-page book was 60 cents when I was a kid. And to get an 80-page book, especially when you buy an 80-page book and you don't even get a full story, for $10, no way in hell. But this one, it's 144 pages, so that's almost twice the size of one of those 80 pages for the same price, $9.99, and it's a special issue in that I have to presume most, if not all, of these stories are going to be complete in this issue. How successful that's going to be, I don't know, because you don't have anybody today who can tell a complete story in 20 pages, let alone 6 or 8 or 10. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes, but I just kind of, again, held my nose and laid it down on the counter and figured, what the hell, I'll try it. But this really could be the wave of the future as far as comic books go, because I think we are moving towards a more substantial package rather than the traditional floppies. I think we're moving more towards something that is bigger and costlier for a few reasons, and partly, the industry has been trying to do that. That's been sort of the conventional wisdom of how to succeed since the early 70s, and the dollar comics of the 1970s. The idea was you're selling less books, but a higher price point will encourage the retailers to carry it because they'll be making more and you'll make more per book, but you got to give the reader a little something more. You can't just keep raising the price on the standard package, as now books are $5.99, not just $3.99, but $4.99, $5.99. For granted that one's a couple pages longer, but not much. So anyway, in this race to make something, to produce a package that the retailers can make money on and the publisher can make money on, I think you've seen a little bit of that change in the Black Label books from DC, but that's not a very good package. The books are larger and they're a little unwieldy. I mean, they don't even store on a bookshelf well, never mind in a comic book box. So I think something thicker like this, that's almost like a trade paperback, might be the way things go in the future. Because the other thing, a package like that can be marketed to bookstores as well as comic book shops. So you can lower your cost by making the same thing for these two different sales outlets instead of having to create totally different packages for each sales stream. So that might be the wave of the future. But again, even at 144 pages, $10, I'm like, oh, it's killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. Iron Man, I got this because it's a number 1. I grabbed it off the stands as an impulse buy, largely because, and I'm going to admit this is a hate purchase. I expect to hate this book and to be able to do a scathing review online. Because if there's one thing I've learned about YouTube, the negative stuff is what grabs the viewers. Like, if I do a video about how much I love Stillwater, not many people are going to watch it. If I do a video raging about how much Iron Man sucks and how it is an example of the absolute death of the industry, more people will watch that. Look at this. Nothing's happening. It's just some talking heads. Not a lot of plot action going on here. The other reason I bought this book, I'll tell you, and flipping through it and hemming and hawing over whether or not I actually would buy it, Hellcat. I'm a big fan of Hellcat. I've been following her since she first joined the Defenders back in the 1970s. And love me some Patsy Walker, right? Can't go wrong with a redhead. Although, I would not immediately associate Hellcat with Iron Man, so I don't really understand why. Being a new issue, a first issue, I would presume that she's going to be part of the ongoing cast of characters, but maybe, I don't know. I haven't read this yet. Maybe this is actually Pepper Potts in the Hellcat costume. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't associate Hellcat with. There's a little play off the first uh, Tales of Suspense 39, the first appearance of Iron Man. That's a very Pepper-looking pose as opposed to Patsy. But Patsy was not somebody I would presume you would see with Iron Man because Millie the model, maybe, a socialite, something like that. That would run in Tony Stark's circles. But Patsy was always more of the working girl. You would have been more likely to find her in the steno pool with Pepper Potts. But that might actually be Pepper. I don't know. I'm gonna have to read that and find out. But again, I bought that just because I expect to be able to do a terrible review. Who knows? Maybe I'll actually like it. So to finally answer the question in the teaser, Stillwater, this is the one book that I bought that it was actually on my pull list. And the funny thing is, the manager of the store, I was laughing, bending over. I hope I didn't just get my head in the frame. The manager of the store, pulled this one thing out of the pull list, threw it on the counter. I'm like, what the hell is that? I didn't even remember ordering it, actually. And the only reason I did order it was right here, Chip Zdarsky. Chip Zdarsky is currently doing the best book that Marvel is producing, Daredevil. Although I've been working on a review of the recent Daredevil annual, and I'm not very kind to it, but hey, you can't hit it out of the park every single time. But Zdarsky has been doing just boffo bang up work on Daredevil, and so I bought this Image book just because of him. So I have no idea what this is about. The art is nice. I like it. It's a nice, clean art style. There appears to be, a fair amount actually happening and going on, although we do take 4 pages to realize this guy's shot and get him help. So maybe it's not as compressed as I would like it to be, but but anyway, I bought it just because of Chip Zdarsky. So I'll let you know how it is. I'll read that up and I'll post a review here, and we'll see how that goes. So I mentioned my discount that I get, and the Sainted Wife is kind enough, gracious enough, to allow me about $25, $30 a week I spend on comic books. And because of the discount that I get, that $31.94 retail purchase didn't quite come to $30. And so it allowed me a little bit of room to dive into the dollar boxes. And so here's some of what I bought out of the dollar box. And so the reason I mention this is, so here's 8 comics, $8. I could have bought 2 more new comic books. I decided I would rather have these 8 old back issues than 2 new books. Not just sheerly because of the volume of books, but the perceived entertainment value of those books. I couldn't find anything else on the stands that jumped out at me as something I would want to buy, that I could get into because there's no jumping on point anymore, or that I would want to stay with. So again, if there's something that came up this week and you loved it, let me know. But this is what I chose to buy instead of your favorite book. So Alter Ego, this is from about 1985 from First Comics, and it was the whole 4-issue series. I don't see this that often. The place I've been working for now, buying and selling comic books online, I'm the grader. I grade all of the books that we sell on eBay that are not sent to CGC and slabbed. but are sold as raw singles. I grade them all. And I haven't seen this in the year and a half, almost 2 years I've been working there. I've never seen this come through before. So with all 4 issues together, I snapped that up. Because again, it's a Roy Thomas book. I like Roy. Lord knows that you're going to get a lot of stuff happening in each issue with Roy Thomas. That's something you're not going to read in 10 minutes. So, other than that, I can't tell you a lot about the character. I am familiar with the Alter Ego magazine that Roy does, and used to be a subscriber to it until the price just got more than I could handle. So I'm interested to read this and see what that's all about. This is also from 1985. Funny Stuff Stocking Stuffer. And this was kind of when Crisis on Infinite Earths was happening. DC did a few special wrap-up books, kind of closing out that chapter of its history. And this was a book featuring all of the funny animal characters, Nutsy Squirrel and Dodo and the Frog and Peter Porker. No, was it Peter? No, Peter Porkchops, I think, is who their pig was. The Raccoon Kids. So all of their funny animal characters that they had produced over the years. And I just thought that would be fun. I mean, for $1, what the hell, right? And it was $1.25 when it first came out in 1985. And then lastly, John Sable Freelance by Mike Grell. And that is a book that I really liked when I was a kid. But it was direct sales only. So I couldn't get every issue in Maine. Even at the height of the speculator boom in the 1990s, there was never more than maybe half a dozen comic book stores statewide at most. And most of the time, I lived 40 minutes or more away from the nearest store. So I couldn't always get there on a weekly basis, especially in my teens. When this would have come out, when I didn't tend to have my license that often. If I had a car, sometimes I didn't have a license. And you can probably surmise why that might be. Let's just say when I did get to the comic book store, I tried to get there very quickly. And sometimes ran into some blue light interruptions. But anyway, John Sable I really liked as a kid or young adult. This would have been 82, 83. What is it? Let's see. It is 84, actually. But I'm missing a lot of issues. And so this was, what did I get here? 12, 13, and 25. So that helps fill in some of the run for me. Can't remember exactly how many issues this went. 30-something, I think. 40-something. So anyway, that is what I bought this week. Those are all of my new comic book purchases, my great and mighty haul. So please do leave a comment below. Let me know what you bought. Let me know what you think of my purchasing decisions. Whether you think I'm doing it right, doing it wrong, doing it upside down. And until the next video, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.